All right, everybody, here we go. Welcome to today's call. I know, a tough one to get people to come to. Labor Day weekend. Can you believe it's here? It is Friday, August 31st of 2018. If I sound like I have the sniffles, I do. It's that time of allergy season for me, but I am happy to be here and coming off of a really good mastermind yesterday. I'm hoping that we'll get at least a good grouping of our mastermind members to jump in here and work on what we started yesterday, which was really telling. And just to recap that, I just want to go through my mind map here. We hit a couple of things here that were interesting. Number one was a definition. This was all about prospecting, the act of creating a prospect. Really super important concept here is that when we considered over the mastermind group calls, the whole funnel, we're able to bring and chunk up to the sales call this concept of prospecting and what it really means. I mean, the industry's been obsessed with that word forever, but I don't know that everybody really digs into it and slows it down and really sees what's happening. And I think that matters a lot here. So number one, prospecting has to start off with a definition. What is a prospect? So as you know, if you've been here before, I believe that a contact is a contact is a contact. You don't know anything about their timing and motivation. So we call it a lead when it first comes in. And that's what we call that contact disposition. But that Rubicon that you have to cross over, that's everything towards you building a steady book of business, is when that contact's disposition can change from going from this lead where you don't know timing to somebody you can build relationship with in the context of prospect. And that's what it is. So I think too often prospecting is teamed up with the concept of cold calling. That might be an act through which you can create contacts, but the act of prospecting is filling up this funnel with these potential relationships of people that are going to buy, sell, or join your brokerage if you're recruiting. So that's it. It's really that simple. So, but we yesterday tried to really clearly define some tighter parameters for what a viable prospect is, because it's easy to say, look, they're anybody that I've had conversation with two ways, and that could be tacitly on text and email. And that's just making things too nebulous and people getting confused about what that means. It's bloating databases. And so I think the most important thing is to be a little bit more stringent in what you will accept as a prospect. And that starts with saying that they're going to do something inside of 12 months. Okay, a 12-month period of time is a very reasonable period of time to spend and to give away more of your time and insight for free in hopes that by building that deeper prospect level relationship, they easily birth themselves into the client end of the world for you. And that's my experience. I mean, we have absolutely 100% seen that. You know, there's no doubt about it in my mind's eye that we've been able to see that people that we spend that quality time with, and that's Laura's job here on the team, when we really have that time with somebody, there's just no competition. And I mean that. And I'm not trying to be pedantic about it. I'm not trying to be a wise guy and tongue-in-cheek. It is 100% true that when you spend enough time with a prospect, giving, insight, information, you really don't have competition because who else is doing that, right? I'm not saying that there are occasions where somebody doesn't swoop in and take that away from you because there's a relationship. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were looking. I'm your cousin. You can't cheat on me. I mean, that sort of thing happens. Of course it does. But I think ultimately, you have to understand that this is one of those things where you absolutely have to be judicious about building somewhere. I won't even call it digital because I get off into these software conversations with people and I'm not going there. It's the concept of making sure you birth a lead into a prospect state, which means, as we've said, they're going to do something or they're very highly likely to do something in 12 months. And the second part of the definition is that they're willing to have a two-way conversation and they'll let you have a follow-up chance to build, to get their business, right? So in other words, just the two beats. You're talking to me, and you're going to give me a chance to serve you. And that's it. And you really don't have to go much further than that. So there's your definition. Now, the next thing is, and what was the real key point of this, is that we've talked about scripting over and over and over. And the challenge with scripting is that scripting gets off into all these contexts like expired and probate and this and that. Those are conversations about the context that they won't be able to follow as much of a formulaic approach. But your intro and your saving grace question can, right? So that's what we'll call it. We'll call it the key question here. The intro, hi, I'm Danny Griffin from the Griffin Realty Group. I'm calling you because is your key trigger word. Because is setting it up in the brain of the contact. Hey, this person might have something for me, right? This might be something, there's definitely something in this for me because it's a trigger word, right? You read it in Robert Cialdini's book, Influence. And that sets you up to get into because you expired, because it looks like you're a administrator of a probate, because you came into my website, because you asked for a home evaluation. I could go on and on and on with the becauses, but that's just simply how we would enter into it. But we all know what happens from there if we've ever met somebody at a kid's soccer game, or we've been at a BNI meeting, or we've been on the phone cold calling. You know what happens. The human being reacts to that opening one way or the other. They give you something to work with, or they, worse, completely shut you down by not really saying much. They're just listening silently. Now, the best ones are the ones that say, leave me alone, to the extent that we can just get rid of them. There's no chance at a prospect relationship. They won't even allow it, right? Off they go. And just move off of those ones. But it's the ones that lead us into conversation where we're getting lost. And so when Laura and I were talking to a couple of our mastermind members, we were stunned that this job has actually been abdicated to a certain extent, that people are actually spending enormous amounts of money to get contact information that has the disposition of lead, and they're abdicating the responsibility to outside companies to call up. So they don't even know what's being said. And that's just stunning to me, because the most important thing to me is what is being said to determine who the important people like you are following up. And it's easier if you're doing it yourself because we can cut to the chase, right? But the point is, here's the question, the key question, and I gave Craig Proctor full and public support and thanks for giving me this line. When I asked him, how do you know when somebody's truly motivated to do something? He said, just ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are they? So that played perfectly into yesterday's call, where we just said, look, no matter where you are after that opening and the context and about somebody dying or somebody expiring or whatever, you got to get yourself rooted back in remembering why you're there as a business person. You're there to prospect, right? A prospect could happen very quickly. There may be an opportunity for that prospect to book an appointment also, but that's still just a prospect. They're not a client. They don't automatically leave that status or that disposition. They just become that next thing for you. It happens to be intense at an appointment. But behind that, you're leaving, a lot of you that are good at prospect calls to book appointments are leaving behind just this tremendous amount of business, and you're not sure. And you go into your database and there's no notes. You don't know what their timing is. You don't even know what you said. And that's a tragedy. So everybody's always looking for this now business when you're the one blowing it up. I'm the one blowing it up if we're not thinking like this. Really, really important concept. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell within the next 12 months? On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to buy within the next 12 months? And then for agents, if you're recruiting, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to become an agent in the next 12 months? That's for the newbies. And then the last one would be, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to change companies within the next 12 months when you're talking to them? This just simply allows you to create this grouping of people that you can then upsell or upgrade in what you give them. And so the actions then are, the support content would include giving them properties that they want. So if it's a buyer or seller, upgrading them to MLS and saying, hey, look, get into MLS with me. It's the source. I know you're looking at this app and that app. Get in here with me. It's the source. Let me get in there, get more specific with your criteria. You can keep using your apps, but I want you in here with me and these properties, right? That allows you to give them more of what they want. That ingratiates you to the prospect deeper, and that starts to meld this prospect relationship. That then is the segue where you can send them content that they need. So all of you members of the Realty Classroom, you have access to all of this stuff that they need, these strategic plans. also known as the seller course, buyer course, and agent course. So we can start to give them an upgrade of what they really want, which is more insightful information about properties that would affect their sale or their purchase, and then slip in the strategic foundational pieces that make you unique. And that's how you're building relationship with prospect. And so in that initial conversation, it's everything to find out if they really are motivated, and they'll give you a chance to do those things. That's beat number one. Then what's stunning to me is the drop off from there. I could teach that. I've even taught it to my team members, and they've done a good job with it. And it's stunning to me how many of those people then subsequently drop off from there and forget to follow up, as if putting them in MLS, as if dripping, I hate that term, and that's why I'm using it to make my point. Dripping's what a dog does to a hydrant. That's not what you do to build a relationship with your prospect, right? So you have to get in there now and say, in that 12-month framework, where were they really? Was it really 12 months out? Then maybe I would say a bi-monthly in the beginning, or monthly follow-up from you, the third tier, most important tier. Hey, it's me again. A month later, right? I see that you're getting all the stuff that I upgraded you to. I wanted to let you know about this property. It's a little bit interesting. Or, hey, this is where staging makes some sense. So you start to get into talking about what you've given them. Duh, right? Like mastering the obvious. It's what they want and they need, and then your insight is the third piece. But you got to be like Goldilocks. You got to find the beds just right, okay? So there's a recap for the recording of everything that went down. And if you're just joining me, I'm struggling a little bit with allergies here today. So my eyes start watering. I'm not crying because I love the work so much. It's the allergies. And my nose is a little cloggy. So if I have to get up and blow my nose in a second here, I will dismiss myself. All right. Remember, when I open up the lines, we're live. I would rather you all were live with me. And I know I've got somebody, a fistful of you on Facebook. You can post comments in there. I'll pay attention to those. I'll address them here. But let me unearth everybody here. Remember, *6 mutes your mic, or just mute your mic if it's noisy, okay? Here we go. Let's do this the right way. Here we go now. All right, we good? Two ways, we good? Somebody say, hey.
Hey.
Thank you. All right, my mastermind members, thank you online. I see you guys online too. Adam, Timmy, Lindsay, a couple other guests. Thank you for being here. Ivan, my man, if he's still there. Anida, etc. So thank you all for being up there. You can post up there too. All right, guys, you have to mute your mic if in the background it's noisy. Please mute your mic if in the background it's noisy. There we go. Thank you, Gail. Okay, so Patrick, was that you that jumped in early? Because I'll certainly take you.
Always.
Okay, cool, bud. So after yesterday, I can't remember, I think it was Egan was the one that he really was tipping us over, and Chris or Allison, I know you're on here too, yep. So between you and Patrick, why don't you guys help me out a little bit here to get into that segue? Chris, you asked an excellent question, which was, all right, well, where do we put this question in when we have all these other things that we've been working on, right? So I have the mind map up here in front of me about circle prospecting, farming, etc., whatever it might be that we're doing. So, and Patrick, I want to be fair to us talking about recruiting too, because you, myself, Gail, and a bunch of other people using inside sales for the same, and that has a lot to do with the offer we make to agents. So either one of you guys want to run with the ball there first and take me in a direction? What would you like to see happen from yesterday's mastermind?
Yeah, I would like to, set myself for that question, Danny, because I think it's a great question on a scale of 1 to 10. How motivated are you to fill in the blank? But of course, the whole goal being to sound conversational in tone. We're not going to obviously lead right out the gate with that. And, of course, we lead right out the gate with, my name is Chris Egan from the Realty Group. I'm calling because. But from there, what sequence of questions or how would you like to see the conversation go to where that question could be integrated and could be conversational, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that it's a tough one to answer because we don't hear it live. You know what I mean? We really don't know what this is going to sound like when it goes live here. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking I could integrate it, but is for the purposes of someone that's, not done this a whole lot, but looking for
sure.
a outline to follow. that's what I'm looking for,
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think you got to be careful of.
it.
Yeah, Chris. Let me go back to what I said. I think you have to be careful of outlines after a certain point in time. I think it's really critical, and this happens in open houses too. And I want to emphasize that to all the agents here that are working on teams or are new to the business. I mean, you're insane if you are not in open houses for hours on the weekend, because there is no faster place to practice prospecting dialogue than in there. And I myself believe that to be one of the most highly effective places to be looking at this information, this upgrade of what we just talked about. It's really an amazing spot. I think the phone, although it bubbled up as the number one thing that all the mastermind members said, if you could do nothing else and you had one tool upon which to deliver your prospecting or your messaging, it would be calling. They all said it was a runaway victory. But open houses, the reason for the call, Chris, right, is obviously to get face-to-face, right? So I think if we go to that context first, it's always about the introduction. Somebody walks through an open house door, they come anywhere. Basically what we're just saying is, hey, I'm Danny Griffin from Griffin Realty Group. Thanks for coming to the open house, right? So it has context. If I'm on the phone, hey, I'm Danny Griffin from the Griffin Realty Group. I'm calling you because. So that sets off the context, right? So I think, Chris, before you're asking motivation questions, I think you have to now go into context. So as I think about it, and I think through it with you here, I don't know that this is something that right after that, you're trying to jam it in. I think it has to become a natural flow. So you pick one: circle prospecting, farming, probate, or expired. You pick one. And I'll just go to my cheat sheet here, and I'll tell you where we were at in one of those conversations, and we'll see where we go with it, right? Which one?
Gotcha. Let's go circle prospecting.
Okay, good. So that was just calling around just listeds, just solds, right? So that whole concept of trying to build out the sense of farm, which is a fabulous way to build brand in a micro area, just talking about just listeds and just solds. Then I get the proverbial, well, I don't have any of my own just listeds and solds. No, but you're a realtor, I'm supposing, with access to MLS, so you have access to the market report as micro and as often as you want. Hey, here's what sold this week. I'm just calling to tell everybody. Here's what got listed this week. I'm calling to tell everybody, right? So let me just give it the definition first. It's that, calling around a neighborhood regarding just solds, just listeds, or general market update information, and I'll add whether or not it's yours or your company's, okay? That starts off, hey, it's Danny Griffin from Griffin Realty Group. I'm calling you because I just listed XYZ Main Street, and I'm wondering if you have any friends or family that might want to buy in the neighborhood. I'm having an open house Saturday 1 to 3. Something like that, right? So that's a very legitimate, real conversation that could happen. Would you agree? Okay, stay in the hot seat with me. So that's where I'm going with this, right? Is that now what, Chris? Now what? They're going to respond. So I don't know how quickly they will respond in the context of me moving them towards prospecting, right? That's just calling around. So I have to ask further questions there to see, if I just sold it, it's the whole concept of if I go further, I also know that this will go quickly. So I'm wondering if you or any of your other neighbors are thinking about selling. So now I'm asking a very pertinent question about I'm prospecting for more sellers and buyers in this case. General market info allows me to go for both. Does that make sense? Chris?
Yep.
Stay in the hot seat. What do you look at? If you're looking at your phone, I will shoot you between the eyes. Come on, man. This is a sparring match. Hold on. I'm going to get my Kleenexes, too. Hang on. So you guys can see me Kleenex it up. Stay rapid fire, dude. I can hear your ADD thinking out loud. Stay rapid fire with me, all right?
Gotcha.
All right. This is your act.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking. What's that now?
Don't overthink.
Okay.
Don't overthink. Have a conversation with me, okay?
Yeah, Danny, so it's just, this is Chris Egan with Egan Realty Group. I was just calling to tell you about a house we just listed in your neighborhood, 418 Wallace. I was wondering if you might have any friends or family that might want to buy in the neighborhood. By the way, I wanted to let you know we're having an open house over there tomorrow, 2 to 4.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you rushed the last part of it as I started to talk, so that sounds scripted, right? See, that's my fear always. I gave you those beats, you went with them, good for you. But in a reality of a conversation, it might not be that smooth. You know, the consumer never plays the game the way we want them to play it, right, Chris? So, you know, I would just say, I'd start off by just saying, the first beat. You know, the more you can break this into beats without really pausing to the extent where they'll just hang up on you. See, as long as you're relevant to them while you're talking, they're going to play your game. Hey, it's Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling, I just want to let you know I listed your neighbor's house down the street, and I'm going to have an open house this weekend. So I was hoping that maybe if you had any friends or family that were thinking about buying, you could send them my way. You know, just conversational. I don't know what I'm getting on the other end of the line. So in theory, here in practice on the phone, we can go there. So that's going to open that up. But then the next thing is, what if you sort of get to somebody, let's take two extremes. What if you get to somebody who's just kind of playing dead? Oh, yeah, that sounds great. I don't know. I won't be in town this week.
Got it. Yep. Well, I was wondering if you might, if you or any of your neighbors were thinking about making a move.
No, I'm not. I don't know anybody else. See, see where you went there just now is that it's abrupt, right? And now it sounds, it's like gratuitous. That's all about you. You went from telling me about something that affects my neighborhood. Do I have any friends or family? And really what you're just trying to do is jump to what you want. And I think that's a real problem. I see that a lot in sales training. People are always jumping. And that's this whole concept of scripting. Like really, I mean, you couldn't smell that all of a sudden you just shifted gears to something you want? You cut to the chase too fast. And it's like, hey, you know what? That's too bad you're not around this weekend. I'd be happy to set up a private showing if you wanted to see it. I actually love the nosy neighbors because then they help me spread the word about what the house is really worth. So let me know if that's something you want to do. I also am guessing that I'll probably sell this relatively quickly, and I'm always looking for new inventory. So you don't happen to know any of the other neighbors that might be thinking of this or somebody I should call. And so it's not even gratuitously asking them yet. So I can go still to the neighborhood. I'm trying to strike up a neighborhood conversation. And then ultimately I can say, you didn't have any thoughts about selling over the next couple of years, did you? Right? And so now, and that's why circle prospecting is so much different with its context, is because the number one beat there is to be calling around the inventory. Here's what's just listed. Here's what's just sold, right? So you're calling around the inventory and you're also branding yourself. So if there's anything that's less effective in cutting straight to the chase, it's that context. You follow, Chris?
Totally.
Okay. So that's the challenge with prospecting calls, is that if you're just calling around the neighborhood, then you don't really have a clear intent. And I think that's the real problem here. I just see a lot of people making these calls and they're not thinking about the context within which they're calling. And then they just sound super selfish and gratuitous when they're going through this. And that's why I think there's all this pressure on these tricky scripts and how you'll trick somebody. Now you got to keep badgering them. What? Like, have you ever gone shopping and that happened to you? Right? If you did, you were turned off in a second.
I'm the person you buy from.
Oh, it's painful. Yeah. You would never buy like that. Nobody on this call would. You'd be totally turned off. You still might really need, to be there. But imagine walking into Whole Foods and they just assaulted you like that. You'd still need the food, but you certainly wouldn't even go to their register or go near them again because you're creeped out. And I think that's the most important thing, that we just keep sounding like we're jumping up and down on somebody, like some, somebody that's non-human, I guess, is where I'm at. But let's go back to the conversation. I think then, from there, depending on where they take you, you've got to ask the question. Okay, yeah, I was thinking about selling. It'd be interesting to see what you get for that guy's house.
I'm sorry, I lost you there, Danny.
Okay, okay.
A noise in the background. You said you were thinking about selling what now?
Yeah, I'm thinking about selling in the next 2 years. It'll be interesting to see what you get for that house down the street.
Yeah, indeed. You sell in a couple of years. Where do you think you'd be heading at that time, Dan?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, this house is a little bit too big. Kids are out of here now, and so I'm thinking about downsizing. So probably stay local, but I'll probably just downsize.
Right, gotcha. You say within next 2 years? Why so far out?
That's a good question too. I don't know. Got one that's just finishing up high school, I guess, next year. I guess, it doesn't have to be that long.
Gotcha. So you'd want to stay there at least until you're one finished up high school so you can stay in the same district?
Yep, probably. That's probably makes the most sense.
Gotcha. Where's your son go to high school, by the way?
XYZ High School down the street.
Okay, yeah, I got it. That's a great school. I understand why you'd want to finish up there. So you're thinking somewhere more year to 2 years out would be more ideal time frame?
Yeah, it could be.
Gotcha. Well, I would ask you, how motivated would you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated would you say you are to make that trade?
All right, perfect. Stop. Perfect. Stop. You took me far enough. I mean, there's a couple things that I would tweak on you. Lose the gotcha. Make sure you're not saying that a lot during real conversations. It's okay with me in training because I got you pinned. I'm sure you weren't ready for me to come at you today, but lose that a little bit. Just let it flow. Be natural. Have a real conversation. Those word whiskers can be distracting because I thought where you were going with the questions was really good. You actually asked me some real good human questions, right? You were actually, what I felt for real is that you were actually genuinely interested in me. And I think that's what's missing in most conversations. People just have stopped engaging each other in a true, authentic way. You actually were interested in where the kids were at school. You were interested that they were going to stay there. You could have said something else. We've got a daughter that we homeschool, and I get it. It's not easy. Moving around. You could have made it even more personal. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because what you're doing is you're setting me up to ask me the ultimate question and get the answer you need. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated do you think you'll be to sell in the next 2 years? Right? So now I'm going to give you a 7. Yeah, it's a 7, Chris.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a couple of things that we can do for you, Danny.
All right, hold on. Stop. Interesting response. A 7 is not excellent for you. Right? And a 7 is it's a pertinent number. So don't go away from being so relevant to me to being not pertinent with me. You follow me? You actually just went backwards. Yeah, you went backwards.
Okay.
Yeah, you went backwards. Did you feel it? Or am I just like...
No, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. And is someone that's a year to 2 years out. There's very few people I've encountered that are that strategic, where they say 2 years. If they're more than a year out, it seems to me that it's kind of amorphous to begin with. So I'm expecting a 7 because I guess in my mind, if they were a 10. Most people that I encounter just don't make plans that far in advance. I guess
they don't. But this guy's.
So I guess I accepted a 7.
Yeah, they don't. Well, you didn't even accept it. It's just a point of conversation. It's a setup, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to do something over the next 24 months? I'm a 7. Oh, really? How come that number? Why'd you choose that number? It's a setup. Because what you're trying to get somebody to do is, number 1, be comfortable that you're a professional, so you're behaving in a professional way. Number 2, you're asking questions so that they'll read their mind out loud, so that you can genuinely offer help. There's no trick here. You're just trying to get them to relax, hear you as a professional, and share with you what their real plans are, so you can make a decision on whether this is somebody you can help or not, and then if it is, how you can help them. Hey, Chris, how come you're only a 7?
I don't know, Danny. It's where I live now. I love where I live now, and our bedroom's upstairs, and I think I kind of like bedroom downstairs. When the kids move out, we got a bedroom downstairs, right? So I might just stay here and stay where we are. I don't really know.
Yeah, perfect.
We haven't made firm plans. We're leaning towards it. We're leaning towards doing something. That's why I'd say 7, but we're not definitive. There's still a lot up in the air.
Yeah, as far as the product is concerned, if you were to move out of that house that you just described, would it be that you wanted to downsize but still have some of those amenities? Is that what you're thinking about?
Well, I think I want to downsize and have some of the amenities as far as, I really like the lot size where I am now, so I'd like a big lot, but at the same time, I think I might like to be a little bit closer to the park, closer to where I can walk to shops and stores and that sort of thing.
All right, so a lifestyle upgrade where you've got the same kind of lot, house maybe is one level, but it offers the same amenities, and you can walk to things. So if that sort of thing was in front of you, do you think you'd be more motivated?
Oh, yeah, certainly. If that thing was in front of me and we could make it happen, I think I'd be more motivated.
Well, Chris, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, if it's okay with you, because that's a relatively soon time frame, and I find that if people don't see something prior to then they're not really doing the homework, and it's so easy for me to do it. A lot of people get confused by these mobile apps. What I can do is put you directly into the source. It's called multiple listing service, and I can send you properties that fit that criteria that you just described. And you can at least watch them, and you can see what the money buys and where they're at. And over time, over the next 24 months, I'll just touch base with you, and we'll see if there's anything that, increases that motivation. I just find that working with clients who are downsizing when the kids are leaving, until they really see what the money buys and that it actually bought what they would like, it just becomes this nebulous process. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, completely.
Okay, good. So why don't I just do that? I'll set you up there. If you could just give me your best email. And that's it, Chris. I'm done. I mean, that guy is worth it. There's clear timing and motivation that this guy is going to move. Okay? He keeps saying it. Yes, he's beating around the bush. But, Eugene will tell you about an open house that he did where 16 people came through the door. One person put down that they had a realtor. The other 15 said they had a realtor and didn't put anybody down. And he asked one really good question. Would you be offended if I sent you properties that match your search criteria? And 15 out of 15 said, absolutely not. Feel free, please do. Right? Now that's the point, is that we've been conditioned to put people off. So this dialoguing, I'm not going to call it scripting. Some of it is very scripted early on to get that going, but then this dialoguing, and then you could come in with a scripted line again. So in other words, hey, I'm Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling is because that's the trigger language that gets them to lean in and say, ooh, there could be something in this for me. And then you give them the context the best that you know. You live in the neighborhood. I listed this. I want to let you know about it. Okay? You asked for property evaluation. I wanted to let you know that we're sending that out and had a few questions. You're the administrator of the estate. Just want to see if there's any real estate that you need some guidance with. It's very quickly after the because to give them that reason that you're there and then let them respond. And that's where it becomes dialogue, Chris. That's when they start to talk back about what the case is. And most people, let's just take Eugene's example, are going to do something to push you away. Because nobody wants to be sold hard. Nobody. So, and everybody's radar and antennae are up so that you're going to go into that situation, they're going to push back. Now, some might do it very gruffly and just hang up on you. Some might go a little bit further with you, but they're good bobbing and weaving type of people where they dance around it. They keep talking to you until eventually they kind of just disappear from the conversation, right? That's where you can come back and script it and say, hey, just out of curiosity, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell within the next 12 months? Right? Oh, not 12? How about 24 months? Oh, not? Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate you. Just remember, I've got this house listed down the street. If you know anybody, my number's right on the sign. Or if you want to see it yourself, you're curious, I'm having an open house on Saturday, right? And that's it. And that's it. And that's all I do. I'm done. You follow?
Yep.
So
I do. And these people then, like in Eugene's case, in the case of the dialogue you just went through, would you suggest at that point an MLS portal access? I mean, would you suggest how...
MLS.
In other words, how refined would... Gotcha.
MLS.
But you're not refining, taking down bedrooms and bathroom specifics. You're just giving them access to the...
Look at Chris. The three beats are this. Look at we've let Zillow and Redfin and all these other tech companies run away with our business. Okay, shame on us. They did a great job coming in, making it look all pretty, putting it on the phone, and buying tons of traffic. And we sit there like we don't know what to do. We are the source. Those guys are waiting for us to go out, to get our friends to list properties with us so that we can put all the pretty pictures up so that they can syndicate it and they can control it and sell it back to us. I mean, it's insane. I've never seen something happen so insanely as this. And I'm not deriding those companies. Good for them for being smart enough to find the weakness in our industry. So I want you to fight back. That's what I want you to do against that trend. I want you to say, hey, you know what? I see that you came to the open house with your app going. It's great. Keep using it. It's awesome. I actually use it myself. You can believe it. But when I get serious, you know what I do? I put my clients into the MLS directly because that's the source. You see, the way that all those things work is everything has to get syndicated. But at least if I put you right into the source and I upgrade your access to information, it comes to you. Now, the reality is Redfin is actually a brokerage, so they might have this quick access through their portal. I don't know. Zillow probably uploads it as frequently as anybody, but there can be problems. So the real upgrade is actually, I'm going to take the time to personally enter more criteria for you. I can put more criteria in, and I can be specific. And then when you're in there, I can see what you're looking at, and I can also give you sold properties. I can show you, Mr. Buyer, what the money's actually bought over the last 90 days so that you're not guessing. You're looking at overpriced listings. I can give you insight while I'm giving you direct access to the MLS. Like, why can't we just master that obvious piece first? I'm telling you, 15 out of 15 people said to Eugene, absolutely no problem. So he was able to upgrade them. So I teach the Griffin Realty Group agents, for crying out loud, you're paying for MLS access. Why in the world wouldn't you put people in the back end of MLS? Just put them in there. Match them with properties in there. We're always trying to go out to pay some website company to do this and that for us, where all we have to do is just be smarter about having more proper type of conversations with our sphere of influence, with our past clients if we have them, with people that we don't know, whatever, and offering them the upgrade of information and subsequently service. So yes, of course MLS. That's what you pay for. Got it?
Got it. So you said the 3 beats are, and then you lost me.
The 3 beats
one, two, three.
to an upgrade. Here, I'm going to put you into MLS to give you more detail from the source of what you want. Properties for sale and properties that sell. 2, I'm going to use that opportunity to give you my strategic plan that will show you how to best sell for top dollar, get the best buy, or begin to wireframe your new agent business. Content, right? And 3, I will be following up at the frequency that is normal for somebody that's not going to do something for 12 months, for 6 months, for 3 months. 3 layers. Once I've created that prospect opportunity, they say, yes, I'll allow you to come in a little bit closer. I want to make sure that I have those things in order. That's it. That's all there is to it. And the rest just flows like crazy. So in other words, everybody on this call, go open up the back end of your MLS and look in there and say, do I have prospects, meaning people who are going to do something inside the next 12 months in the back end of my MLS, receiving properties for sale and sold? Number 1, do I have them? If we don't, our pipeline is empty. And you expect now business and you won't build a pipeline, makes 0 sense, right? And everybody already pays for that technology at their MLS. It doesn't require any more money than your dues, right? The next thing is all the TRC members. I've already written all the course materials for you, which is mastering the obvious strategies for sellers, buyers, and agents. You can give it to them in booklet form if you meet them in an open house. You can email it to them in a slow drip, whatever it is, but you're giving them insight into how the process works. That's what they need, not what they want. What they want is the first piece. What they need is the second, and they're starting to see that you are the only one putting those pieces together. Now, in that pipeline, everybody has different timing. So you don't treat them all the same or they'll know you don't care. You said, hey, Chris, you said that you're going to move in the next, 12 months. It's me a couple months later. I see that these properties are coming to you. I also see that you've been opening up some of the, the course materials. Good for you. Keep going. I don't know if you noticed that other one that got, I listed down the street. It sold and we did pretty well there. And there was a couple things about that. That's insight. So, Chris, the third beat is I'm calling with a frequency that matches their timing without being creepy or without, worse, being too far in between. Some of my agents are great at prospecting, forgot to call a guy for 30 days. Huh? Right? And he took himself to task for that, not me. But I'm just saying, it just becomes obvious that we're just not doing the obvious. Does that help?
Oh, it's totally helpful. Love it. So can we explore some dialogue on the frequency of communication?
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Hold on though. Hold on though. Let me just go to Q&A with everybody. It's been kind of a one-man show here with me and two-man show with Chris and I. Would anybody online or on the call like to add to this? Anybody am I striking a nerve? Anybody want to just speak and let me know? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, buddy.
I just wanted to throw something in, and it kind of ties into what we were talking about yesterday, and that is, what about a scenario where, you're a home seller, and I'm calling you, and we get to that question, hey, I don't want to, bother you by calling you too often. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated would you say you are to selling your house in the next year? What if you come back with, I think I'm about a 5? Is that, if somebody's kind of like a wishy-washy 5, am I keeping them in my database, or am I...
Well, here you go. Patrick, I'll go back to the same thing that I sort of discovered on this call. It's a setup for why. Why are you that number?
Yeah.
Why are you that number?
Okay.
Whoa!
Yeah, so
whoa!
The next question for me is, okay, well, what makes you a 5?
Exactly right. What makes... And I would even frame it, how come so low? Most people that are really motivated, I think people that are motivated outside of a year, Chris was right about that. They're not committed to it. It's a concept. But remember, with concepts, there's hope. And with guidance, there's a plan. So the timing could go.
Yeah, okay.
It's not like...
Just gotta dig.
Yeah. Well, see, again, remember, the hero of the story is the buyer, the seller, or the agent. They are the heroes. So we are going to enter into this conversation as the guide, not the hero. We're not the hero of the story. They are. So I think the problem that the hero has is that they're a little bit lost. You may end up being such a good guide. You say, you know what? It sounds like you probably should just keep the house. Why not just keep it? Why not just stay there? Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I keep going through this. You're right. I don't need to move. Yeah. I agree. I'd just stay put if I were you for the time being. By the way, if you do really change your mind and you really get motivated, you know where to find me. And in the meantime, if you have anybody, friends or family that are thinking about doing this, I'd love to help them. So would you keep me in mind? Absolutely. It just becomes such a natural flowing conversation when it's authentic like that, when we're actually lifting people up with a true conversation. So I think the right questions in a scripted way, they can bracket or help us guide through the nebulous pieces, right? So in other words, hey, Patrick, it's Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling is because I saw that you started our free agent course, and I just want to make sure everything was coming through okay and see if you had any questions. Boom, right? Yeah, Pat, you know what? I've been at this other company for quite some time, and I'm struggling a little bit. The training is not really there, and I'm looking to possibly make a move. Really, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to make a move in the next 12 months? Oh, I'm an 8. Really, that's pretty close. How come just an 8, though? Not a 9 or 10, right? So I think that's where you come into the next level of same thing with recruiters, right? And so it's fodder for conversation so that you can see what you can add. And so the higher up they go, the more likely it is that you say something like, oh, you're looking to sell inside 12 months? I'd be happy to come over and you'll give you a little coaching like I did these guys, because 12 months is really right around the corner. If you want me to come over, tell you what to do, what not to do, give you my plan. Same thing with agents. Hey, even though it sounds like 6 months out. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know, honestly, if somebody came at me with anything from 8 to 10, I would have a pretty hard time not just going for an appointment if it's a buyer or seller, or an interview if it's an agent.
I completely agree.
Say 8, that's pretty damn high. I'm ready to get in there with you.
I completely agree. I have no problem with an 8 to 10 being, as we said yesterday. Somebody that's saying 8 probably just has a few questions that you could probably handle on the phone. A 9 is definitely there, but they still live with fear. And a 10 is like your ideal. Like, oh, wow, 10. Yep, I got to get this thing done. So I think anywhere in that 8 to 10, in my experience, I'm with you. Say, listen, you're an 8, so it sounds like maybe you have a few questions before you make that move. what I could recommend is we could get together for 15 or 20 minutes. I'll show you the agent course. I'll show you the seller, strategy, the buyer strategy. I'll just go through it with you, and I think that would empower you.
Hey, Danny, I wanted to hop back in and just with a request. I don't know if there's any way you can get, if you could get someone to basically transcribe these and update the whole scripts, because of course what makes anything conversational is repetition. It's the whole point of rehearsal and acting class.
Well, I have it.
Conversational after you've done it a zillion times.
Yeah.
And the thing is that a lot of the old, even for that example, a lot of the, I hate the term closing lines, but it is what it is. A lot of the closing lines lead the appointment. The guys like me operate off anywhere antiquated. Like typically I'll say, hey, would you have a few minutes? I'd come over, take a look at your house and give you a real good idea as to what you can expect to sell for. Give some tips on things to do and not to do to get the most amount of money out of it and achieve your timetable and break down all the costs. What you're left with the closing. And a lot of times that very first line, I'm getting cut off on as far as, I've been on Zillow, I've had it appraised, my neighbor knows has bought and sold a lot of houses, whatever the hell it is. They already know that. So, delving more into the strategy and tips and things like that, I think would be. But anyway, that's just one to throw that out there.
Okay, I got a little lost in what your question was or your request.
No, I was just saying I think it'd be great if you could get the scripts updated to the, what you're saying on calls like these.
They are. It's in front of me. They are. It's in front of me.
Yeah.
But Chris, hold on.
Right.
It's not really easy to write out the whole thing. Here's why. Like I'm looking at this mind map that you've laid eyes on. And while you're talking, I'm trying to put into it what you're saying. Step 1, define a prospect. Step 2, key question to create prospects, right? Just so you remember it. But then I have to move around the rest of it, which is all contextual, right? So, that's the problem, is that you're going to get into these textual things, and there's no perfect training for that. You need to get on the phone with people, have real conversations, and see, what they say about it, right? That's why I say if somebody would just be like, send me some live calls each week regarding this, we'll see what our theory really sounds like in practice, right? But I really would say prospecting is step 1, define the prospect. Step 2, the key question to create prospects is on a scale of 1 to 10, and the next actions are this. But what goes in between step 1 and step 2 is context, right? Intro and context. You have to define it, and then there's the script intro. So, it's a little bit tricky to put it together. It's, training is not so black and white like that anymore, right? You really have to kind of make it all come together. I'll do my best. I'll put it up there. You can have it.
Gotcha. I was guessing in that case, they get you to go back a few minutes to the offer to come over that's not so centered on valuation, but centered more on tips to achieve successful sale. I just liked what you said. I just wasn't, transcribing quick enough.
I love my guys with high C. Hey, dude, you're a mastermind member. You have access to every audio. You want to go have a transcription made of me running my mouth for an hour? God bless you. Knock yourself out. You have full permission. All right. There are inexpensive transcription processes. If you had a section of one of these calls, I would recommend you use one of them. So, but there's no way I'm going to transcribe an entire call just to pull out a piece. I can work with you one-on-one though if you want.
No. I was just talking about, the offer you're making to come over that's not so centered on valuation, centered more on tips and strategy. I just like what you had to say.
Well, it's conversational, but that was my point. You're bringing up a good point. It's like where I was just going with Patrick. These are a lot of your scripted questions are intended to provoke conversation. And then it's like, here's my best advice to all of you. Just be real at that point in time. Like, have we ever not had conversations with people, our friends, that were genuinely interested? Oh my gosh, dude, you got a new pair of sneakers. Those are tight. I like those, Like, you're in a real conversation with people. Go there with these people on the phone. Well, really? You have a daughter over there? Show some enthusiasm for their lives, and they'll reciprocate by giving you some more time. I'm not saying patronizingly or in a phony way, but just to say, like you did, you were doing it on the phone with me. You were saying, oh, really? What school do the kids go to? That's genuinely interested in my kid. That's a good question. That doesn't go in anybody's script because we don't know when we'll be talking to somebody like that. That's just your brain clicking in and going, oh, there's something in common. I mean, that's what I really should type out. When I get asked questions all the time, why are you good at this? Because I just know how to make a human connection and engage. And then I infuse into the conversation my professional knowledge. I don't club them over the head and get into that. You're right, Chris. A lot of people will meet you in the beginning in an extremely insecure way. They'll be affronted by your knowledge. People are amazingly intellectually insecure, and they deal with it in all ways. Some people just flat out turtle, and they're afraid to talk, and that's why they're silent. Some people are afraid, and they'll yell at you and hang up. That's their reaction. Other people will almost want to debate you. Well, I've sold 5 properties. Really? I sold 5 in a month last month. So, then we get defensive, and we want to challenge. I think so. All of that part of selling is more so... I guess the best thing that I would practice, if I were you, because it's what I practice, is trying to practice humility in that moment where somebody is just, their reaction is something we would consider obnoxious, offensive, aggressive, all those things. Because I teach a lot of people who are not aggressive, and they're like, whoa, you have to be aggressive to be a salesperson. That is just ridiculous. It's the opposite. Right? It's just getting into that human conversation. Like Patrick gets on the phone and he's talking to somebody, or Gail's talking to somebody about recruiting. You heard Gail yesterday and her enthusiasm. Why do you want to be an agent? You ever heard Gail talk? It's just such enthusiasm for the conversation. Right, Chris? Pat, you want to weigh in?
Completely.
No, I think just even your tonality makes such a humongous difference. And how you open up the call, I think, just sets the tone for the rest of the whole conversation. And so that's really important stuff to keep in mind. I'll never forget, we had an inside sales agent here years ago, making phone calls. Nobody was able to answer the phone because I think they called after hours. She left this voicemail just actually saying, hey, I appreciate you guys for following up with me, but the person who called me sounded so bored on the phone. He said he wound up not working out. You got to come in there with just some real authentic, just being real and authentic. I guess is the best way to put it. And
Pat,
pick up on that, and they're not going to mess with you if you're not.
Yeah, and you can't, right? And you can't script that. That's a genuine conversation with somebody. So you're not scripting that stuff. I mean, again. People sometimes they'll cherry pick me and, oh, you said on this call and you don't believe in scripts and you believe in this. No, I believe in results for other people. That's what I believe in, right? I want to help people. And that's why I think that vision becomes important. I want to help somebody, okay? If in this moment of time, I can help you by just putting a smile on your face and there's no business opportunity, that's help. Okay? If I can give you a quick insight, but your daughter happens to be your realtor, I'm still going to do it. I'm not going to pull the punch. I'm not going to be covetous with my information. And what I have found over the course of my entire life and any career I did was that gave me more than enough people to follow up on. That my actual problem became what I was trying to express, that in sales, once you have created the opportunity you've created a prospect. They are going to do something relatively soon. They are interested in you upgrading their information. They don't mind you following up, okay? All that definition of prospecting, I find that the next step is the bigger problem. See, Pat, I think you had it right. A lot of people just say, well, I have them booking appointments. Well, why? Is your technique to book an appointment with everybody, even when it's inappropriate? And then you scratch your head and go, well, nobody's showing up. What? Like you don't get that? Of course nobody's showing up. You just put your hands around their neck and shook their neck until they surrendered and said, sure, I'll have an appointment, and then couldn't wait to hang up and not show, right? So we're losing, through opportunity cost, just a tremendous amount of efficiency. And that's where all this anxiety comes from. I can't tell you how many people wash ashore to me. Oh, I'm thinking about coaching, and I just want to see, can you get me some now business? And I got to get business now. I'm like, oh man, I'm not your guy. You're still in a state of delusion. The delusion is that somehow in the biggest financial transaction business, in one of them in the world, right? For the consumer, I mean, it's a big one. It ranks right up there. And you're going to what? Just all of a sudden get from me or some website or this thing, some magic pill that's going to get people to trust you that don't know you? Doesn't make any sense, right? So we have to stop the training that is just this sort of machine-like, nonsensical way that the world does not exist. The way that the world exists is I'm not buying a pair of shoes from you, right? At Neiman Marcus, when I walked through the door, I went through the door the other day looking for a dress shirt, and I walked in. 3 or 4 people first said hi. And they could tell I was kind of a guy that was moving from rack to rack and just kind of looking, and they just said hi. And they laid off, and I liked that. And then when I started to dig in a little bit, and I was looking at sizes, and I was looking at price tags, somebody finally said, would you like any help with anything? To which I replied, yes. So it's like we live in that real world like that. But yet for some reason when we come on the phone or we get into our business, which is even a much bigger moment in time, we think that we can get on the phone and somehow miraculously get everything that we want. It's just absurd, and it doesn't work, right? So how do you deal with that? Well, you script some of it. I'm about to call you about one of the biggest transactions you just tried to make and it didn't work out. And my name is this, and I'm calling you because I want to let you know that I sent you something that I think will help you figure out why it didn't sell, unless, of course, you took it off intentionally. I mean, that's a genuine offer to somebody. And that allows me to get into seeing the next question. Were you thinking about relisting it? Because if you were, I'd love the opportunity to come over and take a look at it and see if I could help you. That's the dialogue piece. And now we're into this conversation where we go, well, I put it on. Let me just ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you really to move? Well, I'm a 10. Well, then why are you so stuck like this? Well, because I just did it and it was a pain in the neck. What if you could go right? What if there was a better way? What if somebody wasn't telling you hardly enough how difficult it is to price it right? What if I came over and gave you a second opinion? That's, Chris and Pat, how you transfer the conversation to just get real. That's where that other question comes out. It's sort of like the smack in the face moment. Hey, hold on. So I hear the stress, and that bothers me. I want to help you. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what was your motivation when you listed it 6 months ago with the other agent? I was a 10. Why? I wanted to move to Florida badly. Now the house I wanted is gone. You're telling me that there's no other houses in Florida that you would buy? No, I'm not telling you that. I'm just frustrated. Okay, good. What if you just take a look at the strategy that I sent you? You have a read through it. You have a breath. I don't want to be like the 15 other people calling you saying, I have this, I have that. No, I have a strategy that can help you. Together, we can walk through it and see if there's something that needed adjustment. You might have been real close. By the way, any showings? Yes, 10. Any double showings? Great. Yep, you could have done a reverse offer. What's that? That's when you actually make an offer to them. Never told me that. I know, most people don't. You see, that's real dialogue that I have all the time. And that's just, you're talking through what we do every day. You're documenting. Gary Vaynerchuk, I really like that one line that he has. People come to me about video all the time and they say, what do I do on video? What do I say to the public? What do I say to these people? It's like, just document what you do. Turn the camera around and go, hey, I'm sitting here coaching a bunch of people at the Realty Classroom. I thought I'd give it away today because maybe you'll find it helpful. Maybe you'll find something insightful. I'm just documenting what I have to do anyway. It's the same thing when we're talking to people on the phone that are selling their property. Hey, look, I'm working in real estate today. That's what I'm doing. And I have some insight. And I saw that this happened. So I sent it to you. You mad? You want to hang up on me? Great. I'll try you back next week just to make sure you got it, right? Don't bother. Why? Did your plans change? You're not moving? No, I'm moving. So, you don't know how tough it will be, but we always seem to be so training for this moment that's so difficult when the truth is most of the time it's not. It's not at all. But it is if you're getting weird and gratuitous and you're pounding on them for what you want without helping. Does that make sense to everybody here? Anybody want to weigh in on that? Thoughts? Let me hear from some other people here today. Come on, guys and gals. You kidding me? I'll blow my nose.
Hey, Danny. Thank you very much for all the compliments, everybody.
Yep.
I am extremely enthusiastic and excited about my agents, which I happen to have my poster child agent with me right here listening.
Yes, I like that.
It's Angela, Danny.
Woo!
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Angela. I like it. I like it. That's Laura. We need something. We need a bell or something. We come in and we just squeeze it. Goes woo. I like it. Awesome, ladies. Anything to add today? I know we're at the end of the call, but anything to add since I didn't really hear many people today with Q&A. A lot of listening today. No.
Not that I can think of. I enjoy your enthusiasm. It's made me excited about today.
Awesome. Well, Gail and I, we share enthusiasm. Even my allergies, as I blew my nose into the call a couple of times, right? So they can't stop me. All right. Well, listen, I'll let everybody go. Good work here today. It's never easy.
Have a good
Thank you. Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend, everyone.
To you as well. Happy Labor Day, everybody. Go out and enjoy it. I know that's what you're really jonesing to do. I appreciate that you just attended on a Labor Day Friday. But go enjoy yourselves. Have an awesome weekend and try this stuff, right? Just have a conversation. Document what we do here. Don't try to be perfect and it'll work, okay? See you soon. Thanks.
Bye, Danny.
Bye, Danny.
Yeah. What was that? Lee, go ahead. What'd you want?
Yeah. Is this call being recorded? When will it be up if it is?
It is being recorded, and I will send you a link.
Send me a link, because I think that's a great call today, just for the ISA.
Yep.
OSA, for that matter.
You got it. Totally agreed.
Also, did Bo call you yet?
He did not, but let me call you offline. Let me hang up on the call, okay?
Okay, bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye, everybody online. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you.